I bring that water bottle everywhere with me. So if you hear me kick it, I apologize. Hi, everyone. My name is Dana Bridgman Cross. I work for GovernWise Alliance and I'm the HR advisor. I'm presenting for you twice today and once tomorrow, so get ready. We're talking about our onboarding kit that I've helped to create, kind of HR orientation onboarding. So we want to just talk a little bit about it, share with you what kind of resources we've created, and then go from there. Just a little technical difficulty, sorry. Normally I'm the cause of them. You want to take 5? Okay, let's take 5 minutes and we'll get this set up. Go for a break and grab a water. We'll see you soon. We've got some very technical savvy people here at GovernWise. Okay, so we're ready. So we're going to be talking about recruitment and onboarding, and we've created a toolkit for you to kind of make your own and customize and kind of implement a system or process for you. So the big picture for our toolkit, we've got an overview and a purpose. We've got how to use the resource, how to customize it and make it your own. We've got recruitment that's defined. It's really hard to find people. We're talking a little bit about that. What is onboarding versus orientation? And then we've got a recruitment file checklist to make sure that you're in compliance. And then we've got how to have future success. So we've got a little video. It's not in there. Abdul. Okay, we're going to try again.
Damn it, Glenn. I told you to rewind these things on your own time.
Wish I could rewind you on your own time.
What?
Yeah. Good. Okay, great. This month's video is called The Cloud9 Dress Code, Looking Bad at Work.
Oh, why do they want us to look bad?
Oh, no, it's because the video's from the 1980s. Back then, bad meant good.
So I guess that means you're a bad boss, right, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm a really bad boss. I'm a bad one.
Yeah.
Oh, so like when people say Michael Jackson was bad, they really meant he was good.
Well, yes and no.
Oh, the 80s are so confusing.
I know what you're thinking. Another training video? Gag me with the spoon. But don't wig out, because we're keeping this one fresh with special appearances from two all-American heroes, Bill Cosby and O.J. Simpson. So grab an ecto cooler and pump up your Reeboks, because we're going to talk about some fresh threads.
God, I love his hair.
When these videos are so outdated, they're almost irrelevant.
Man, gotta disagree with you there. I saw Bill Cosby on the news last night. He must be playing somewhere locally.
I feel like we could make a better video than this.
Yeah. You know what? I bet we could make our own training videos.
No, I wasn't suggesting that we actually do it.
Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't have time to clean the bathrooms. And you know how those old ladies from the Crestwood nursing home just destroyed those. You are.
This is such a bad idea.
Thank you. It is a bad idea.
I said bad meaning bad.
That's what I meant. Bad.
That's cute, right? How many people have policies that are outdated by 10 years? 15 years? I've got one that was 25 about a year ago this year. So it's something that takes a lot of work and a lot of time. So trying to kind of create a toolkit for you to give you ideas and suggestions on stuff that you can implement. It's just a tool, and we want you to incorporate it however you want and however you can, but it's an opportunity for you to utilize different things. So the roadmap and the reason for creating this toolkit is to offer consistency, to be really efficient, to ensure compliance, to make sure that it's culturally connected to the community, to support retention, and customization. So it's really important. I attended a job interview after I came back from mat leave. My youngest is 17, and I had 2 interviews for the same company, and they were different departments. They were very different interviews. Like, you wouldn't think that they were the same organization. So trying to have people work together, include everyone, have that open communication amongst your departments and your organization as a whole is really important. So we want you to customize it. We want you to make it your own. We want you to ensure that it reflects the culture and the traditions and the values of the community. We want it to create a sense of belonging. We want you to bring those people on and ensure that they want to stay and that they feel important. We want it to align with the nation's policies. So we've got finance that are creating finance policies. We've got governance policies. We've got HR policies. You've got tons of things that all have to be kind of connected. So it is a daunting process. So we're trying to just give you some examples of how to customize it. Lots of communities offer committees that you'll have an elders committee or a hiring committee, and they bring good value, right? You can add things and incorporate that better, but every community is different. So we don't have a ton of culture and traditional values in this toolkit, but we want you to ensure that you customize to yourself. So using your own logos, having your own strategic coloring. We've got a really great communications coordinator for Kiwan Tribal Council and GovernWise, and she ensures that all our branding and everything is just dialed right in. So having that kind of theme amongst all your stuff is really important. We wanted to include elders. We wanted to include other like the team that you're working with. I know that when GovernWise just recently was looking for finance, we all had input and we all suggested things that were important or things that maybe we wouldn't think of in a job description typically. So it's really important to ask and have that information kind of gathered. So recruitment is really hard. Who's struggling to recruit right now? Everyone that I work with is struggling to recruit. It's challenging. And I think COVID was really, really hard for that. But I think the younger generation and working in a multi-generational kind of workforce right now makes it challenging too. But I think there's always common similarities or things that I have in common with someone who's 70, and I can also have something in common with someone who's 20, a new parent, or you got to find those commonalities. So I think hiring the right person is really important, that they fit into your organization well. So planning and strategic planning for what you need is really important for how you think about your recruitment plan. Attracting the right candidates, making sure that they're a good fit. Respecting cultures and traditions, having somebody that's going to honor those practices and make sure that they're open and welcoming to all that your organization offers and does. Inclusive hiring, so making it open for anyone and everyone. So a lot of time in the recruitment process, we'll have an internal process and an external process, but then you just drag on your recruitment process. So sometimes hiring and compiling those both together and then screening on the back end can save you weeks in that process time. Screening and selection, we want it to be really thorough and you're doing all your checks and balances, your compliance. We want community engagement. We want to know what the community wants, and we want the right person that's going to engage well in the community to be the one that's selected. And then supporting capacity. So I think One thing that I've found working with the communities is your education department is a wealth of knowledge for you, and they're hiring or they're sending all these people to school. You're graduating all these great candidates, but then they're not coming back to your home community. So it's thinking outside the box sometimes and how you can recruit, and maybe it's a hybrid workforce, maybe it's remote, maybe it's something that you can kind of change what you're typically doing. So orientation. Orientation is a short-term introduction to an organization's, the policies and the work environment, very different from onboarding. So orientation focuses on the organization as a whole, the structure of the organization, policies, health and safety, payroll, benefits, what just to get them on board, to get them paid, to do the things that they are essential just to get them into the office. So the goal is to help that employee understand the basics so that they can start that job. But onboarding, we want onboarding to be a long process. We want it to be where you can offer mentorships and you can guide that person. So we really want it to be a long structured process that integrates that new employee into the organization's cultures, values, and then performance expectations on top of that. So I think if you have mentorship programs and other things to offer, you can really kind of guide that new employee into being that worker that you want mimicked in someone else's kind of work style, right? That they're have commonalities with. So focus area for onboarding, we want culture and community integration. We want that mentorship part. We want to build performance goals and have them working towards things so that they slowly and gradually do their job and they're not just thrown in. We want to build engagement and a sense of belonging and that confidence that they have that they can do that job and that we're there to support them. So the goal for onboarding is to help that new employee thrive and succeed as part of that team and community. And I think there's a big difference there, but let's look at them side by side. So key differences, orientation's kind of a week, maybe 1 to 3 days to a week. Onboarding can be long-term. It can be up to 3 months. It can be up to 6 months if you wanted it to be. Orientation focuses on information. Onboarding focuses on connection and performance. Orientation is a one-time event over a couple days, but it's everything that you need to know that one time to get you onboarded and registered. Or onboarding is the why and how we do things and really guiding them and showing them the way. Orientation is HR-led, and onboarding is shared amongst department supervisors, HR, other leaders, mentors, whoever. Do you notice a difference? Are you onboarding or are you orienting in your organizations right now? What do you think? A little bit of both, maybe not to the onboarding extent. So I've got some questions for you. So can you click on that and go to our Slido? Does everybody have access to Slido? They're just trying to pull it up now, but could you click it, get into it? Yeah, okay. If anybody needs any help, I've got 2 great helpers over here. Okay, okay, good. No? Right on. Pardon? Can we go over? So are we going to do one at a time? Okay. So how confident are you in the onboarding experience reflects your nation's culture and values? We've got a 3, so we're kind of average. It's really hard when you get into a job or you're a manager or you're HR and you want to change things. So really kind of having a toolkit like this might be able to help and support that a little bit. Okay, do we want to flip? Okay, describe onboarding with an emoji. I tried to make my kids play charades with emojis the other day. It didn't work out very good. Not working? Okay, let's try again. Let's try again. Hopefully we got this. I like that emoji though. Keep them coming. Oh, a liar, liar, Pinocchio knows. Tears. It is kind of exhausting, I agree. I need my 17-year-old to tell me what these mean, but mind blown, yep. Oh, unhappy, yep. Upside down. I think that middle one says a lot. Yeah. Yet we started again. Oh, I love this. It is daunting. It's overwhelming, and you find out you don't really know the people that are applying, or you don't really know what you need in that role, and it's crazy. Yes. I wonder what that means. What does that mean? Who wants to share what those two girls in the cat ears or something dancing? I'm interested. That's awesome. It's overwhelming, it's exhausting, it's timely. It's a process, right? Okay, next question, Abdul, please. What takes the most time during the onboarding process? This is a trick question because lots of times everything's timely, but mentoring for sure. Meaning policies. So policies, are you still giving your new employee an orientation book and having them read it and sign off? Is that kind of how, yeah? And we know what a challenge it is to get leadership to approve new policies. And that process is overwhelming. And having a new employee read your policy manual is a lot, right? Explaining everything, sitting down with them, the engagement part, forms, learning the new role, and lots of questions. And if you're not that person that has like that open door policy and it can be overwhelming even if you are that person with open door policy. The policies are huge though. So I think that there's great new technology out there, HRIS systems and different things that you can automate all of that. And Abdul's going to share tomorrow on AI and automation. That's great. Can we go to the next, please? What is 1 or 2 words that describes your recruitment process for your organization? Too long. Just getting a crim check now takes 6 weeks. So it's a long process, right? It's awful. Oh my goodness. 2 days here? No, Fort Francis OPP, 6 weeks right now. And they outsource it. Yeah, that's if it's clean. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yes. Biased. That's a good question. That's a good conversation talker. I think that when we get into where it's a smaller community and there's family, and it is really hard, and that conflict of interest can be really challenging and difficult to navigate. So I think understanding and knowing that there are biases is already putting you 2 steps ahead. Lots of rumors, time, not effective, exhausting, too long, inconsistent. I think that's what the toolkit that I've helped work on is going to push, is really the consistency part and ensuring that it's efficient and that you have a process that's outlined. Okay, can we go to the next one? Thanks, Abdul. How would candidates and new hires rank your onboarding experience? 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. So think of the last couple people that you've hired. Remember when McDonald's had the best orientation program? It was amazing. They had like everything was online then. It was videos, and then you did booklets, and then you mentored with somebody, and then you learned all these different jobs, and you signed off like an apprenticeship. And it was the most thorough orientation I'd ever seen. So we don't have a 4 or 5, which, I mean, who's perfect? But it's nice that we have lots of 3s. It would be nice if we had a few 4s. That onboarding experience is daunting. So I'm glad that we're here. Next. What is one part of the onboarding experience that most new employees will struggle with? Do you have people that just turn around and quit? Or do you have people that are overwhelmed by the technology part of it? Or there's a lot of, in that workforce demographic that we have now, it's really hard to meet everyone's needs and find something that's consistent for everyone. Culturally sensitive, absolutely. Technology. Tax papers are always hard, absolutely. Getting mentorship, technology, orientation, lots of information for sure. It's hard to find good mentors, right? You want that really great employee that's going to be an ideal person to mentor. Oh, I want to know who's nothing hard in our onboarding. I love that. I'll take tips. I think for me, working at when I started with GovernWise, coming in and like our SharePoint was crazy, and I had to learn all these communities, and we were working with 60 already it was overwhelming to me. But it wasn't, that expectation was like, come on, we got you under our wing and we're going to teach you and show you. And I was always on a weekly call, always had somebody checking in on me. I always had somebody to reach out to. So that part of it really eased for me, but it's a lot of information. It's very overwhelming, a new role. Okay, I think that's it. Yep, perfect. Okay, let's go back. Thank you. So the importance of onboarding is ensuring that there's a consistent process, that all departments, the organization as a whole, supervisors, you're all on the same page. It promotes compliance, and it's compliant with all legislation that's applicable, whether you're federal or provincial. It supports equitable treatment of all employees. I once had a person that fell asleep in my interview. She was ill, but she fell asleep in my interview. And I asked afterwards, how am I fairly judged on someone's, it was 2 people, which is not common anyways, but she fell asleep, and they apologized and said that she was ill. But it was still, you didn't feel that fair. It's not a fair comparison, right? Very weird experience, by the way. Something that reinforces the nation's values, governance, and traditions. And you want to reduce errors, misspells, and confusion. So this toolkit's a guide that you can kind of make your own and do that with. So I've divided it into sections. So I've got a couple different things on for recruitment and the hiring process as a whole. So the toolkit as a whole is this form that I've first done is to ensure who's responsible for the hiring process, to come together as a management team in HR, really kind of to work that job description, review everything, update the job postings, the job description, make sure that all the information's really good and consistent, and that you're planning already that screening process. So if you have a hiring team or committee, that you've got the same people scheduled for the event all consistently across the board, and then establish what kind of interview you're going to have. Then we've got a similar form that's just going and giving notes where you can write in and maybe HR does all the work for you, but you've got the manager and your supervisor team. It's similar. It's delegating responsibilities. It's updating positions, the job description, the job posting information, establishing that interview process, but it's more put onto your HR team rather than your supervisors. This is for posting your job descriptions. So we wanted to break down the general guidelines to follow, internal versus external candidates, what kind of social media presence you're going to post. If you're going to post, you want to be consistent across the board. So delegating responsibilities and timelines. So it's really kind of checking who's completing what the deadline is, if it's completed, how you move forward. So out of all three of those, you could maybe pick one or two. You don't and customize it and make your own. For job descriptions and postings, we want to ensure that it's consistent and fair. So we just did a checklist, kind of a planning tool to make sure that you've got all the components of what your job descriptions are, but that you're making sure that it's relevant still. So who's the name of the lead recruiter? Who's the department manager? What's the name of the position? Is it permanent or temporary contract? What type of employment, job status, salary range? Ensuring that you're reviewing everything. So really kind of digging into the meat and potatoes of what you've got for your job posting and ensuring that it's up to date. Because often we don't review a job description or job posting until that position's vacant again, right? So we're not consistently doing that with our staff on a regular. So for the hiring process, we've got a hiring policy that really sets out the organization's kind of what they're going to follow, how it's going to guide them. So talking about equality, equal opportunities, the recruitment process as a whole, the selection criteria that we're going to follow, the interview and evaluation process. And you can have multiple. If you've got a senior position and you want them to go through different stages, it's about planning that right from the beginning as your team of managers, HR, and supervisors. Ensuring that confidentiality and privacy are followed, that you're doing your orientation, and then you're onboarding and doing that mentorship part, and what your plan is for mentoring that role. If it's an executive director or a bigger boss, maybe you want to do that for a longer period. Maybe you want to hire way before someone retires and you're doing that strategic planning part. So it's really that thought process that goes into it. Oh, and prioritizing First Nation hiring. I know that that's hard because we don't always have tons of interest from the community, but I think it's about finding the education departments and the people that are successful. And it's that word of mouth often that you're really going to network out and make those opportunities known. And then for legal compliance, I didn't really include anything, but we want to meet Canada Labor Codes and human rights standards. We want to follow the privacy and data PETA. We want to follow the health and safety regs. We want to ensure that we're doing the tax paperwork and payroll properly, and then the maintenance of employee records, and then any integration of policies and culture. So I created for recruiting documents, because you've got lots of kind of compliancy things to follow and you want to ensure that you're compliant in your crim check and in your job application form, you can write those kind of things in there and have them just sign off and authorize instead of having an extra form for that. So I did create just a job application form that you can kind of use, similar to what an old school McDonald's one would have been years and years ago. But having them sign off so that there's kind of a standard that you follow, you know what information you've asked of them. If they haven't completed it completely, maybe that's a screening tool for you initially. There's legal compliance followed, verification of any documents that you're really following, and it's very transparent. Sometimes you might get a resume from someone that's 3 pages long and a resume from someone else that's handwritten and that's 1 page and they don't have computer skills. but an application's easy for everyone to be compliant. Oh, great. Will you write that down for me, Lauren, please? That's a great one. I didn't think of that. And then we did a CRIM declaration. And I know CRIM checks in, is that fire drill? Like I haven't had enough hiccups today. We'll keep going, okay? Okay. So I did a CRIM check declaration just to have them authorize and provide what information what would be released so that you kind of have a head start on that CRIM check. But a CRIM check here isn't as long as at home. In Fort Frances, we're looking at 6 weeks minimum. So it's just another step to kind of add to your process to get that information quicker. Employment contracts, we use Citation Canada, and we've got really great online training and those kind of things that we offer and support. But there are employment contracts, so I can give you that to reference, but that's something that every position, every organization is very different. So we don't want to do that for you, but we've got great resources that you can look at and speak with your lawyer. So application submission and screening, I've created a screening policy. I've created a candidate tool. Yeah. No, you're good.
On the criminal records check process, you were mentioning how it sometimes
Mhm.
with that. And so what is the standard protocol, or what's your recommendation about hiring an individual and then something that you can find? My second question is, with the list of your onboarding requirements or processes, can any of that be used as a challenge point for you to say they didn't include it? And that needed to be used.
I think that people can challenge for sure and see, like, ensure that it's compliant and that you're following human rights and the following kind of legislation. I think that if you have a thorough process and it's consistent, you won't find those challenges very often. So I think it's kind of securing that process. And for the other question, so myself, I would try to be the planner and plan out that I know this person's leaving or retiring, or there's internal transition to the other role that you could fill. So I wouldn't hire and onboard somebody without that CRIM check back, but that's just me. That would be my advice. I would, like, that's my recommendation, but I'm not a lawyer. Yeah. I think that when you get into, you've hired someone, they're on their probationary period, and then you take that away from them, there's many factors that could come into play that you'd be challenged on. So just being cautious and hiring them once you have all that information back is the proper protocol steps that I would follow. Immediate. Yeah. Do you have internal that you can transition into, like, can you have someone cover or kind of job share a certain role and duties? That's what I would think. I would look at internally and see what you can manage, because I think often if you're doing your job and you're efficient, you might have a little extra time in a week that you can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yes, very much so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're kind of you're making I don't know. I've worked out west my whole life. I never had an issue with doing criminal record checks.
Yep.
I do have a criminal record check. I grew up in the streets. I grew up in jail.
Yep.
Grew up in YO systems. I never had an issue having a criminal record check, or if they asked me about my criminal record, I was honest about it.
Yep.
Because I do have a criminal record.
Yeah.
Okay. But with this, you know how many people out on the streets and people that are trying to make their lives a little bit better. You guys judge us for having a criminal record without actually understanding why where we came from and the trauma that we've endured and all this other stuff. So now that you're dealing with people that have addictions coming off the streets, I say 9 out of 10 of them have records. So how is this going to help support getting people jobs and supporting them to continue on? This is what defers people from trying to get work.
Absolutely, I agree with you. It's very challenging for sure. I think that depending on the role in the organization, whether a crim check is required for every job is up to that
I
organization.
know women and men that have been working in different organizations that have higher end jobs, and they do have criminal records, and it hasn't changed their work ethic whatsoever. Just because they grew up a certain way, or if they had an addiction and they changed their lives, this shouldn't define them. The work that they did to try and change who they are should define them, and this is hindering their progress.
But I appreciate your honesty, and I don't think you get honest, like an honest.
That's why I like coming
reply.
to these things.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's very hard to be honest and upfront when you're in a new role and sitting across from a table of 3 people and saying, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity, but I have a criminal record. And you don't know from looking at someone if they do or not. So it's really dependent on the role. If it's safety sensitive, if it's like, is there factors that you could get away with not having a crim check? Maybe that's applicable. But I think being honest and upfront is really important. Thanks. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. So like I said, we've created a hiring policy. And then this recruitment planning tool that I mentioned before. So it's going over the whole job. It's really kind of evaluating what you need and what's important. And in here on the second page, it actually asks if a crim check is required. So I think really it's relevant. Is it required for every job? It might not be, but you really have to look at it. And I think that's why having somebody from the team and your team supporting you and making those decisions and seeing what that job is really consisting of makes a big difference. Yeah. And if it's required of the position.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we're not allowed.
No. No, and it's not, it's based on if it's needed for the role.
Oh, I just yelled. Sorry.
So for recruitment and job planning, this is the other tool. So it really looks at your process as a whole, the general guidelines that you're following. It gives the responsibilities, who's assigned to what, outlines your social media process. And I think that that's really important. You want to be consistent and show everyone. They might be only looking at your Facebook. They might be looking at, you want to have that consistent kind of process where you're posting. And then delegation of responsibilities with a deadline. So the importance of the onboarding toolkit, we want to ensure that it's across all departments and it's consistent. I think that's the most important part. We want you to have a team that kind of decides and makes that plan. We want to ensure that it's compliant with legislation. We want to make sure that it's equitable treatment for all employees. We want to reinforce governance and values and culture and traditions into it. And we want to ensure that it reduces those errors or those biases. This is all messed up. I apologize. Okay, can we go there? Okay. So I created a candidate screening tool, something that you can kind of go through and just in your recruitment file for your file folder at the end and really evaluate your candidates so that when you're looking back in 3 months, 4 months, and you can say, oh, this candidate was great, we didn't hire them, maybe we can look at re-inviting them to apply again. So it kind of just takes all the information and data and moves it ahead. We've also got a screening tool so that you can go and have a look at everyone's resume. side-by-side comparison of candidates that you're going to be screening, kind of to give your screening or hiring committee a good picture of what you've got. Okay. So for the interview stage, we've got a couple checklists, an interview script, and a scoring sheet. So we want to ensure that we're federally compliant. We operate under federal guidelines. We want to ensure that it covers the whole steps of the process, and we want to ensure that it promotes professionalism and transparency. Okay. Move ahead one more. So we've got best practice for interviewing. We just wanted to kind of give you a guideline of different interview question styles, different opportunities that you can have a panel, behavioral questions, situational questions, but really ensure that your interview is kind of consistent amongst all. Okay. So I've created a script for you, and it's just to kind of give you a guideline, letting you know kind of this is the prep for the interview, this is the job, this is who is reporting to, this is the overview. This is the interview that we're going to follow. And then once you go through your interview and you've got your panel, we've got just a scoring sheet that has all your applicants with the questions lined up. So we wanted to reduce biases, but we really wanted to remember where kind of we were a month ago or 2 months ago when we did all this. So for criminal reference checks, I've got a form, and then I've got 2 different questions. So I created just a general form. So after your interview is completed, you can just have the candidate complete. They sign off and verify that they understand that they're releasing this information. You have it, it's prepared for you, it's ready as a resource. Then we've got questions. So I created, I think there's about 25 and 30 in each. We've got a management style reference check, and then we've got just a general generic one. Both are useful. They ask different questions. They kind of promote what kind of stuff you might be looking for. Is this a candidate you would rehire? What did you think of this candidate? Whatever. But management style versus just generic. And then we've got templates for letters for you. So we've really gone through and just given you some generic letters. I know that when you're dealing with different teams, different departments, you often get different styles of letters or totally different letters. So we wanted to be consistent. Okay. So these are kind of the 3. We've got an applicant rejection letter if they weren't offered an interview. We've got a late applicant if they didn't meet the deadline. We've got an applicant rejection letter if the position's been filled, and then we've got a confirmation of application letter. So we're trying to kind of give you and then an offer. So to follow up, we've got for your recruiting files, we want to make sure that you're completing and having a good recruitment file and you've got everything maintained and kept for you. So we've got a checklist, and then we've got a feedback form. So for our checklist, we've kind of just ensured that who is the successful candidate, what's the term, what's the start date, and then we ensure that we've got the job description, the applications, all the people, all the relevant information, all collected under the same. It meets compliance. It's very organized and efficient. Then we've got a feedback form. So it's really important not to do an exit interview at the end, although that's important. If somebody leaves your organization, you want to ask them questions. But I think what's even more important is going and gathering that information of what they thought, what their feedback was. And it kind of gives you an unbiased kind of approach, right? You hope they're honest and forthcoming with what they felt, but it's identifying any gaps and letting us know how we can move forward. And then we've got an employment retention policy. So kind of just giving you a guidelines and what your personnel files should look like and how to maintain those. And this is the overall document for our checklist. So we've got the process, the 2 weeks before, what you should be doing, who it should be delegated to, and how you navigate that, dates that they're completed and signed off. And it kind of goes through all the different departments. So it can go from your pre-arrival to the onboarding and ongoing tasks of mentorship or training. And then it talks about the different teams and the different organizations or different departments that you're going to have to connect with and how you navigate that and ensuring that everybody's signed off and everything's complete. So that was my quick, because we had so many hiccups, I apologize. I tried to zoom through. We really want to help you and to kind of navigate and make it your own. So I'm happy to help if you've got putting logos on stuff, if you want to review things and do that way. I'm more than happy to help. but looking forward to having this on our resource page under Government-Wise Alliance, and it'll be on the website for everybody. So let's take 15. Yeah. Yes.
Or like the actual hiring process. You can hear me. I'm gonna yell it to it now. No, I totally got that this is kind of a generic toolkit and not saying that anybody needs to use or should use or be right.
Yes.
What I didn't see, and maybe I missed it somehow, and maybe it's on the site, but the actual, like for me, the frustrating process is that onboarding. Like if I can get somebody hired and I can show them the organization and it's wonderful, it's, and I think also that it's different in every organization. It's different in our organization based on the department and the roles and all of that. But are there tools for that?
We're still kind of going through. We've got like a checklist from our finance department that I didn't release, but we've got kind of what that process is to ensure that you're compliant. Is mine not? Oh, sorry. Yeah. We've got kind of a checklist from No Cuban Tribal Council and what our finance department goes through. So I haven't released that yet, but I hope to in the near future, and it'll be on the website too. Kind of going through like all the ticks off of like, did you fill your tax form? Did you do this? Did you, all your things? And kind of that process of how to manage and navigate that orientation part. Yes.
you.
Yes. Thanks. 15? Thank you.